I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, all.
Welcome to Paranormal Odyssey, this special edition Sunday night instead of Friday night. How you doing, Lesa?
I am so good. I told you what happened to me yesterday. Heard my first wood knocks ever, which was amazing.
Yeah, that is very, very exciting. Tell everybody a little bit about what happened.
I was out on my brother's property in Missouri. It's in the Mark Twain National Forest, and I was looking for tracks, and I heard 3 knocks, and I thought, I'm just going to clap and see what it does. Then I heard 2 knocks, and then I heard 2 knocks behind me, and then I clapped again, and then they started knocking back and forth in front of me, behind me, and that was crazy, but awesome.
I can honestly say I've never had that much activity from knocking. And I've had several people on over the years that have claimed to know what the number of knocks mean, but it's like
it was 5 like total. Like they do 2, pause, then they would answer 2, then they would do 3, and then they do 3, and then they would do 2. It's kind of like a weird.
Yeah, I mean,
sequence.
I say people claim to know, and that's not a knock on them. It's what they have experienced. It just seems like people have experienced different stuff, and I'm a believer that they could. Each tribe could have different knocks, could mean different things. So in different areas, a number of knocks could mean a different subject. I don't know.
I just think they were alerting that I was there in the woods. That's exactly what I think. Is they'd never seen me before, because my brother's place is real secluded, and I was out there by myself, and I think, we've not ever seen this one, before.
That's a fun feeling. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad you got to experience that.
Me too.
Let's get all this good stuff out of the way. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate that very much. If you've had an encounter and would like to come on and share it with us, we would love to talk to you about that. First step in doing so is shooting me an email to wayne@paranormalworldproductions.com. I had an email just a little while ago, actually, from a gentleman in Maine that I'm going to be talking to that had an experience with a knot deer.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like I told the guy, I know little to nothing about those things. I've heard of them, but I have been wanting to find someone that had an encounter with one because I want to get him on to talk about it. So making the arrangements now to have him come on.
Definitely.
But the way he did it was he shot me an email to Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com. So, guys, if y'all want to jump on and talk about something, share your experiences, love to talk to you, just shoot us an email.
Definitely.
All right, I want to ask everyone to head over to the website, paranormalworldproductions.com. Show some support to all the other shows, to Brian and myself, and all that good stuff. Guys, if y'all have any questions for our guest tonight, we're going to be talking about him in just a moment. As always, feel free to ask them. But if you do, please put those in all caps. Lesa is always on the lookout for questions. And if you put them in caps, it makes it easier. And we'll get to you that way. And like always, guys, if we don't ask, we're not doing it on purpose. We just missed it. So if a little bit of time goes by and we don't ask, type it again. Just make sure you do it in all caps. We would certainly appreciate that. All right. Before we get to who our guest is going to be tonight, as I mentioned earlier in the week, I announced it, and then Brian announced it also. Our shows, this one, Paranormal Odyssey and Sasquatch Odyssey, are going to be moving to the radio. We beginning on June 8th. That's the date that my first episode will be in Atlanta, FM radio station 99.1 in Atlanta. So if you guys are local to there, you can listen. I'll be every Thursday at 9 a.m. I'm not sure about what Brian's spot is going to be just yet, but he is coming on as well. So we are excited about that, and I did want to make a little bit of a mention to it today. All right, Lesa, you want to introduce our guest? You want to talk about him?
I'm so excited. Our guest tonight is Dave Shealy, and he's with the Florida Skunk Ape. Is it association? I don't have
it's a museum, right?
The Skunk Ape Museum. He is a researcher. He's done some phenomenal things. He is going to be on History's Mysteries tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I think that's Eastern. But yeah, we are so lucky and excited to have him on here for the time period. And he's doing, besides the skunk ape, he's also doing some treasure hunting down in the Florida, the Gulf, and just he's got a lot on his plate. So let's hurry up and get him on, because I'm so excited.
We are doing it a little bit differently tonight. Dave is out there without any kind of reception or any kind of signal at all, so we're having to call him. So I've got it all hooked up now. I'm going to be giving him a call. We had planned on sharing his video before bringing him on, but we're a little bit late getting him on. What do you think we should do, Lesa?
I think we should call him. I think we should call him, then share the video. Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of the way I was leaning. So I'm going to call him right now, see if we can't get him on the phone. Again, guys, it's the first time I've ever done this, so just bear with me, and we'll get him on the line.
Yeah, he is really, really interesting, guys, with the research that he's doing down in the Everglades and with the Florida skunk ape.
Hello?
Dave.
Yes.
Hey, Dave, this is Wayne. I got you here with Lesa as well, and we are live on Paranormal Odyssey. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing good. And yourself?
Doing very well. Very well. Thank you so very much. Lesa, you want to say hey?
Hey, Dave. How are you?
What's that?
I said, how are you?
Hello?
Can you hear us okay, Dave?
I can now, yes.
Could you hear Lesa? Lesa, go ahead.
Hey, Dave.
He can't hear Lesa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, well, she can hear you. It sounds like maybe you're just going to be able to hear me, so I will do all of the conversing. If Lesa has any questions, I will ask for her. First off, I wanted to talk to you for a while now, Dave. You and I have been friends on Facebook for a while, and I really, I enjoy seeing everything that you're doing down in Florida, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on and hang out with us.
Well, come on down.
I'm going to be in Florida next week, actually. I'm going to be in Panama City.
Well, that's the upper part of Florida. That's a stretch away, but that's a nice place. I love Florida.
Yeah. Where are you at? You're in the Everglades?
Right now, I'm in Key West, Florida, which is the southernmost point of the United States, but I live in the Everglades.
In Key West, man, that's got to be terrible. I hate to hear that.
It's an unexpected trip. This is our dive season. I'm the assistant to the president of the Bronze Cannon Corporation. It's a treasure hunting salvage company. It's been around for a long time. So I'm down here unexpectedly. We're getting the record numbers of dives in early this year. And so they came across some items. So I'm gonna be out on the reef tomorrow and go down and check them out.
So is this like
And
a treasure hunt thing or a salvage? What are you doing?
yeah, we have the claims to 2 Spanish galleons. They'll be the richest, oldest ships ever discovered in this hemisphere. The one ship has over $1 billion in gold on it.
Oh, wow.
And we have mapped over 65 square miles of seafloor here on the reefs. It's a multi-million-dollar project. And I'm working with the best in the world, Duncan Matheson. He's our archaeologist. He did the Etosha. And then we have all the attorneys down here in Key West, the big names. Dave Horan, that was Mel Fisher's attorney. And it's a big operation. I've got a small ship on the north side of the island, and I was going to go down there and get on it and spend the night tonight, but I hadn't been down in a couple months. The engines are started on it. It's a big one, but nobody stayed on it. So I just decided to stay with one of the divers here tonight. Right this very second, I'm in Big Pine Key, which is to the north up from the Key West a little bit. It's where the key deer live, the smallest deer in the United States. And and there's been skunk ape sightings here on this island that I'm on, and it's kind of hard to believe, but this is a huge island. Development has been stopped now for over 30 years on it, so it's not like the rest of the Keys. I'm sitting here in the backyard of a home right now, looking at a hardwood forest and some pine flats, if you can believe that or not, in the Florida Keys of all places.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you're calling about the skunk ape. I'm all about the skunk ape. If you got some questions, because I don't think you're going to make it down to me if you're going to Panama City.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it down that far, but Key West is on my bucket list. It absolutely
beautiful.
is. My wife and I would love to go.
Well, the Everglades, put the Everglades on it too. That's where my home is, and that's where the research facility is. But all of South Florida is kind of interconnected as far as wildlands go. Lake Okeechobee, the Everglades, the Florida Keys. To me, it's all one. And this is where I live. This is my home. And I'd love to tell you that I know every inch of it, but this is the largest interconnected protected lands. This is the largest area east of the Mississippi of protected lands right here in the Everglades. We've got 3 million acres. And for somebody to know every inch of it, I call them every inchers. I hear it all the time in my shop. I lived around here all my life. I've covered every inch of this. I think I ain't never seen you before, and there ain't no way in hell you're going to cover every inch of it. So I guess it's all day long. My family moved here in 1890. And so this is my home, and skunk apes have always been something that the older families down here in the Everglades have talked about seeing. And growing up as a kid, I heard stories, and then when I was 10 years old, I actually saw one when I was out hunting with my brother Jack. Maybe some of your listeners, or maybe even yourself, had saw the reenactment on Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. To this day, that's the best reenactment of our particular sightings down here for people to see.
Well, yeah, that was going to be probably my first question, was how many, most everyone knows about the 2000 encounter, and I've got it queued up here. I'm going to be sharing it here in just a minute. We'll talk about it, but I'm curious to hear from you, how many encounters have you had? How many times have you seen one?
Okay, when I was 10 years old, I was hunting with my brother Jack out behind our property, and he saw something walking across the prairie very near where I took the video at. That's a really hot area. And I couldn't see it. He had to pick me up. I could look out over the grass, and that's what makes the Unsolved Mysteries, because they did it detailed. But and I looked out over the grass, and about 100 yards out is this figure. I was a kid, but it was big. It was taller than the grass. It had to be at least 7 or 8 feet tall, covered with hair. Looked like a man just crossing the marsh, walking real slow. Well, we were just kids, and we had a gun and all, and a rule around the house was if you're going to shoot something, you're going to eat it. It obviously didn't look edible to my brother, and we hightailed it back to the house. But that was my first sighting. And then there were a rash of sightings around 1997, maybe 6 miles from my house. There were hundreds of people who were seeing this skunk ape type Bigfoot animal. Literally tour buses full of people, people from overseas who were visiting the Everglades on vacation were running into the ranger's office. So, and this was pretty close to where I'd seen it as a kid. So I set up a stand there, and I was out there for about 8 months. I would come in occasionally, but I spent the best part of 8 months out there in the woods. And it was evening time, and I heard something splashing in the water. And that's when I got the 27 photographs. And the 27 photographs that I took are really what got people interested. That was a really big deal. And they're not talked about much anymore. And Steve Harvey, actually, his assistant, actually got the pictures from me, and I did not get them returned. So I kind of I like Steve Harvey and all, but I really was done wrong by them.
Oh, wow.
So, but to make a long story short, okay, so that makes 2 times, and then in 2000 is when I got the video.
And I'm playing the video right now. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dave. Just letting you know that it's playing.
It's okay. The video's huge. People really like the video because it gives a clear view of the animal, and it gives you enough time to understand what's going on there. And when you're watching that video, you have to you have to look into it. That's July. The water where that thing is crossing that marsh is 2 feet deep, and it's crossing the marsh, and at one point it's running faster than a deer. And there's just until recently, there's been no research study done there other than what I done. And of course, that doesn't hold water. It has to be somebody from the outside coming in. And I would just hope, and it's been 20 years praying for some help. And then I met the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group, and they do skunk.
Did we lose him?
About that. So that makes 3 times. Now, all of those, it gets a little better and a little better. I got the video. But actually, the 4th time was probably, for me personally, the best sighting I've ever had. I hunt food sources, and it was around September, and we have what's called saw palmetto down here. And there's some patches of it that are 3 or 4 miles of just big clumps of it. And it gets a berry on it. And if these clumps are near the highways, generally people will go in and steal the berries and get all the berries off it. They're worth a lot of money, and so they drop off workers. But I knew that this place, that it was far enough out where I wasn't going to have that problem. I waited till the right time, the wind was right, and I moved in on that palmetto hammock because I knew it was a good food source in a good area. And I'm moving through it. And about 100 yards ahead of me, 50 yards, I don't know, 75 yards, let's say, I see the palmetto farm. And they're moving like hogs. It just stands up. And looking at it, and I was surprised, but not that surprised, because I really had a good feel about this place. And it didn't have the Roman nose like a bear, or canine type nose like a bear would have. And bears, even though that they don't have big ears. People think elephants got big ears, the dogs got big ears, but bears generally aren't thought of as having big ears. But when you see a bear, the ears are very prominent. You know it's a bear. The ears are prominent. They're small, but you see it. Well, there was none of that. I could not see any ears, rounded head, on 2 legs that started moving through the brush ahead of me. And it was kind of moving away from me, and I could hear it making some sounds, like grunting sounds. And that's when I noticed 2 other areas where the palmettos were moving around, but I couldn't see the animals there. But I believe there were 3 skunk apes in the particular hammock. And that was for me, and it probably always will be. It'll be the highlight of all the research I done. 40 years accumulation. It was all worth it right at that minute.
Wow. Yeah, I want to go back to the 2000 sighting, and I played it and had a little bit of technical difficulties. So I wanted to apologize for the people that are watching live now, but we got it squared away. But I did want to ask you a couple of things about that video. Now, you said it was about where the creature was running was about 2 foot deep of water.
Ranging from a foot to 2 foot. As it moves out of the hammock and starts to cross the field, it's a little shallower over that way. But once it gets out in the open field, in July, we got 2 foot of water there. And that's when it really starts moving. If you watch the video, as it's crossing that marsh about halfway through, all of the sudden, it just really starts moving quick. And that's something that just, there's no way that a person can reproduce that. I mean, this is my backyard. If there was somebody in the woods, I seen a car parked out on the highway. There was nobody around. This was moving like a wild animal. And it was exactly what I saw back in 97 when I took the photographs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Toward the end of that video, that thing was moving. It really was. And we have all, as kids and even some as adults, running in the ocean or in the lake, playing with kids, 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep. It's hard to run in water, 1 foot or 2 foot deep. And that did not look like, to me, it did not look like a person running in 2 foot of water. It didn't look like it had very much trouble at all moving through that stuff.
Yeah, no, it was moving. I can tell you, I've killed a lot of deer out there. I run airboats out there. That's literally, that is my backyard, and I do know every inch of it. And it was running as fast as a deer. I can tell you this. It was running as fast as a white-tailed deer at one point, considering the amount of water on the ground. It was moving out.
Yeah. Now, what's been the general consensus of the video? I know it's hard to dispute it, but as well as I do, there are those out there that are going to dispute everything. It doesn't matter what it is, they're going to say it's fake. What's been the most common thing that you've gotten from skeptics that say that this isn't a real being?
Well, I'll tell you that, nobody that's ever been or spent any time in the Everglades or that area is skeptical. I mean, I have the full support pretty much of Southwest Florida because they know the conditions. But people that don't live here and they see that video, they think, well, he's just running through somebody's backyard. That's not the case. It's a swamp. In fact, my first contact with reality television might have something like some kind of round circle Bigfoot meeting, and they looked at my video and just disregarded it as being nothing. And I mean, none of them had ever been to the Everglades, talked to me, knew the situation, looked at the conditions at the time. It was supposed to be some kind of scientific circle, and it was a bunch of people who knew absolutely nothing. And it was very disturbing to me, quite honestly. I take my research serious. This isn't a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Screw the reality television crap. And so I, how can somebody do that to somebody? I mean, here's a show on TV making money off people who believe in Bigfoot. And then here I am down in the Everglades saying, hey, look, there's something here. Look, and they don't even want to look at it. I mean, it's appalling. It's disgusting. It makes me sick.
Yeah.
To have people like that judge me, my God, what have I ever done to those people?
Yeah, I mean that's a very
and they're the same people who are putting on these conferences around the country. It's all media backed. They want personalities. That's all media backed. They come to Florida. It's their third year in Florida. They didn't invite me to the Bigfoot conference because they don't like me. And that's just baloney. I have worked with schools, colleges, I've gave them my time freely my whole life to be denied to attend one of their events, and for God bid get up and say something about my studies. Um,
Hmm.
so and I just now, I thought, there's no way to get through to the American public without playing this stupid game. So I just did an hour special that's going to be airing on the History Channel with Troy from Swamp People. Go shoot him, that guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it going to help me? Is it going to hurt me? I don't know. In the short term, it'll help me being on the show. In the long term, I think it's going to hurt me because I don't like, I just, I don't like being a part of that circle. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Lesa was talking a little bit about that. Now, so are you going to be on there talking about the skunk ape, about Bigfoot?
No, we're hunting it, me and Troy.
Oh wow, okay. Okay.
And you know what? I'm excited about it. And it's going to turn, I believe it's going to turn the Bigfoot world upside down, quite honestly. What we found was astonishing.
Oh,
So, I
okay.
mean, but, and it's just,
Now, can you talk about that, or does that need to be
no, thank you for reminding me. No, I'm not supposed to be talking about this.
okay?
Yeah. I believe I signed a non disclosure, but I don't remember, but I believe I did. But if when it does come up in air, and I imagine they're getting it put together, they're pretty quick about that now. That you know, I'll be able to come back on the show and let you know it's there, and maybe talk a little more about it. But I can tell you, it was crazy.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Lisa spoke briefly before we brought you on, and I'm excited to get to see that. But I did have a couple other questions.
Well, before you ask me those questions, I want to make sure that I answered your first question completely. Are you happy with my answer?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Let's move forward.
Okay. Now you said that you're in Florida. Now, is that where all of your research has taken place, or have you looked into Bigfoot in other states?
No, I'm not. I'm not really a Bigfoot researcher, and I don't really know that much about it. I've always just been here in the Everglades, which it is the largest wild interconnected area east of the Mississippi that's protected. That's my home, and that's all of my research is skunk ape. So the Bigfoot, like it seems like there's this line that is formed at the Florida line, where anything south of the Florida line is a skunk ape, and anything north of the Florida line is a Bigfoot. But that's not necessarily true. I do believe that we have a subspecies of a Bigfoot down here. The tracks are different. We have a different tracks down here. But I believe that the Bigfoot come into Florida and the skunk apes meet somewhere, possibly mid Florida. But down here in the Everglades, it's just so very isolated that we've got like the Florida panther is different than the cougar, that kind of a deal going on.
Yeah, I asked you that question to lead me to another one, but before I get there, the first question from the audience came in, and I want to get that out of the way. Hike with Mike is asking, have you ever explored the green swamp?
Have I ever done what?
Explored the green swamp.
Yes, I have one time. One time with mid Florida uh, Bigfoot research, Marie Dumont, Mike, Chris. Um, I was there, but that's not my home. I live in South Florida. That's to the north of me. So I have never been to the Green Swamp, but the one time, and
Okay.
it's beautiful there. And do I believe that there are skunk apes there? Of course, I believe that. I do believe we have a larger number down here in the Everglades. It's just a bigger area, but obviously there's other animals throughout the state. There's a big push now for wildlife corridors in the state of Florida that lead from the Everglades to Green Swamp to Ocala National Forest. And these are big greenways that wildlife travels. And so, yes, there definitely is skunk apes
Okay.
in the Green Swamp.
All right.
I'm sure of it.
And while you were answering that one, another one came in from the audience. Dude from Texas asked, "Do you believe the skunk ape migrate to other areas?"
Okay, so I heard the question. Do I believe it migrates?
Yeah, do you believe that skunk apes migrate to other areas?
100% absolutely, but with an explanation. Here in the Everglades, we have what's called the wet and the dry season. For instance, from my house looking at the Gulf, every mile south you go, the water gets a foot deeper. So when we have dry seasons like we have now, the wildlife moves to the south along the edge of the mangrove forest in the Gulf and will live down in there. But when the water begins to come up, it starts to move inland to the higher ground. I live in the Big Cypress National Preserve, which is 1 million acres of land that was set aside for fur-bearing mammals, a place to escape high waters where it was dry. And it's the home of the Florida panther, black bear, American crocodile, American alligator, and just a number of wildlife that they need a little bit of dry land. Crocodiles to lay eggs, alligators to lay eggs. So
Yeah.
yes, they move. They move with the water tables here, though. So it's a short migration distance, 100, 150 miles. They move, but they move.
Okay. Now, the main question I was trying to get to before those two audience questions come in was, uh, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the difference between a Bigfoot and a skunk ape, because from what I gather from you, you believe they're two different things, correct?
I believe physically, yes. The track is 100% different, and skunk apes, people see them in the trees a lot.
Okay.
And that doesn't surprise me because they can get up out of the water and away from the bugs. And we've got some big cypress swamps around, and that's where you'll find these nests. They're a lot like orangutan nests, and that the Park Service actually brought in researchers from Indonesia who worked with orangutans, and they spent several months in the preserve, in the backcountry, examining these things that I found. And they were thinking that it was orangutans, that we've got orangutan or troop of orangutans, but that's not what they found. The nesting materials were much heavier. It was a much larger nest.
Okay, so can you speak to any other like physical characteristics, differences between a
The
traditional?
color, the color.
Okay,
Um, they a lot of people see them and they'll say, "Well, it was black," and that I'm like, "Now, and but cinnamon or reddish dark brown color as well." So we've got two colors. I know smaller ones that was been seen recently has been like an orange, darkish orange, or red or brown color, darkish brown, chocolatey brown, I guess you'd say. And a smaller animal has been spotted on the loop road a lot here lately. I'm getting a lot of reports of that, about a 4.5 to 5 foot tall skunk ape. And the loop road is a neat road. It's an offshoot. If people are visiting the Everglades, it's a scenic route, so kind of out of the way.
okay.
But there's a lot of sightings right there. I'm really excited about that since it's small.
All right, we got another question from audience member Hike with Mike. Asks, what does the guest think about the Micaiah skunk ape photo? And I'm glad he asked this because that was going to be one of my questions.
All right, I'm going to get asked about the Mayaka photos. We can talk about the Mayaka photos for days. It was one of the best times of my life. But I happened to be up in Sarasota doing a radio show, and I wasn't just there for the day. They had 300,000 listeners. I was there for about 5 days. They put me up in a hotel. The skunk ape craze was kind of going on, and people up there. That's my biggest fan base, Tampa, St. Pete. That's where my biggest supporters are. So I wanted I met Beyonce Knowles. I ended up in St. Louis. It was a crazy story, but the police come to the station and they said, we were listening to the radio, and Dave Shealy's here. We'd like to speak with him. And I was in the studio, and I said, well, okay. And I went out in the parking lot, and the officer opened up an envelope. And he says, what do you think about these? and it was the Mayaka photos. They had been sent to a police station, and they brought them there for me to look at. And I said, well, I don't know. I said the hair looks a little bit longer than than what I see down in the Everglades, but I can't really judge it by that. And I said, I tell you what, I said, I think this is legitimately uh, could be a skunk ape. I don't know if you've seen the layovers of the pictures, but they lay orangutan pictures over it, and they almost match. But there's no orangutans up there either. So it's just a very interesting thing. And then of course the next day they were in the newspaper, and I was still at the radio station, and the guys were ribbing me, publicly what I thought about what was going on. And I says, I've just got to say that I'm not the only person alive that's ever seen a skunk ape, and maybe this is legit, because it certainly looks legit to me.
So you
That's what if you want to know about that, that's my answer.
you believe that that's an authentic photo?
I do, and I hate to put myself out there, because I'd hate for somebody to come up later and say, "Oh, that was just me playing a trick." But I don't think that's going to happen. Those
Yeah.
photos, they've stood the test of time for quite a while now. They look legitimate to me, and so I'm gonna put my skunk ape brand of approval on them, so to speak. If
I think so too. I think
if
they're very, very convincing. Now, the backstory, if I remember right, the backstory is they were turned in anonymously, right? Or am I thinking of a different one?
No, they were anonymous. Yeah, they were sent to the sheriff's department anonymously, so nobody knows. So that's where you're taking a risk, saying I'm going to say this okay or it's not okay, because for all I know, the local bar down the street took the pictures behind the bar. But I don't think that's the case. It's just they look too good for me, and I definitely I believe that they're real.
Yeah, Carson, 1954. Carson asked, "Have you gotten any hair samples?"
Have I got hair samples?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got some at the house now. The last hair samples was done was microscopy, I'm not a scientist.
Hmm.
And they cannot identify what it is. They don't have any idea what it is. They know it's not a bear. Then they know it's not, a dog or deer or cat or a panther, but they can't identify exactly what it is. And once again, I have to refer back to the Unsolved Mysteries episode where that testing was done.
Okay.
And that's who conducted the test.
Now, is there any other kind of, have you collected any other type of DNA, like scat or anything like that? Have you ever been able to get any of that?
I do. I found it, and I've sent it off, but I've never really got any response out of it. I've never really got any feedback.
In
Some of the hair samples that had taken initially on the Turner River Road sightings were actually confiscated from me, and
that
they were some of the best samples that I had.
that is what just absolutely sucks about this community or this topic. You can have some great DNA evidence, a great fine hair, scat, blood, and you just don't know where to send it, right, Dave? I mean, you could have great stuff and send it to the wrong person and it'll disappear.
Oh, you're doggone right. And here's something here, and you're going to say, Dave, you're getting a little too extreme on me. Well, I guess if I was a tourist that's down in the Everglades and didn't care about the law and getting a little bit of trouble, that things would be different. Uh, but everything is protected in the Everglades. You can't pick bones up in the Everglades and take them home with you. You can't even take a bird feather with you. You can't take anything. You can't even take hair samples with you. It's actually illegal to remove anything from the Everglades, the preserve where I live. So, I mean, it just adds another layer of controversy, and a lot of people are gonna get a good understanding of that here in the near future. That's all I can say about that.
Okay, we've got a couple questions. Lisa's got one.
Uh, I want to know about the sounds. I want to know like how their sounds maybe are different from like a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot.
Yes, Lisa,
I'm really interested
and I
about
hope I'm
sounds.
doing okay. I'm sitting on a platform here in the woods in the Florida Keys next to a pool.
Yeah, you sound
It seems like
just
I'm in
fine.
a studio.
Yeah, you sound just fine, Dave. Just for some reason, I'm the only one, or you can't hear Lisa, but everyone else can hear you just fine. So Lisa was asking me the question, and I'm going to relay it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. She was asking, she's curious about sounds like vocalizations. Have you heard any vocalizations from them? And if so, what did they sound like?
Well, on my last sighting, when I came across the group that was in the palmettos, I definitely heard some vocalization, like some grunting, like that. But that was about it. And I hear people wanting to make the vocalizations, call a skunk ape in, but I don't do any calling because I don't really know how to call one in, but I hear low growling in the swamp. I'm used to the alligators, and I'm standing in an area that's maybe 70,000 acres, a big swamp on my left, marsh, and a mile away another big swamp, and I'll hear these bellowing, loud rumbles, and not often, but occasionally I will, and then I will in the other swamp, way to the other side, I'll hear another one, and like they're talking back and forth, and it's a real low sound, and it's not like there's a lot of chatter. It's normally three or four sounds or so, and then it just quiets down.
Okay. Dude from Texas wants to know about the smell. Have you ever smelt him? And he said that he's heard hot garbage. What would you say?
Yeah, they uh they definitely have an odor. Some people say it's like a wet dog, but not me. I'm gonna say it's kind of like a skunk. I mean, just kind of fits the name, skunk ape, smelly monkey. Or some people say rotten eggs or methane gas, and
Yeah,
people believe that these swamps got a lot of that stinky methane type rot gas in it, and that's what gives it its smell.
I've heard
But
that.
yeah, yeah, and it could be true. And you get back in the swamps, it can get stinky sometimes. I was driving, heck, just the other night I was driving around, and there's a stinky part of the swamp right now. I mean, it stinks. I don't know what's up. Didn't smell quite like a skunk ape, but there's something going on there.
Carson's got a question for you. He wants to know: do they build nests in the tree or sleep on limbs?
Um, what I found both, and there's another thing. I found three different things. I found the boughs up in the trees, generally around swamps where there's lots of water, and generally when the pond apples are in season, which is a huge food source. We literally get tractor trailer loads of pond apples. Not that they haul them out. I'm just saying you could fill semis with these things. So it's a big food source, and that's when I find the nest up high. Now sometimes I'll find them in the palmettos where there's just bunches and bunches of palmetto fronds cast upon the ground like a big bedding area, like purposely put out there. And then the most interesting of all is the third thing, because I've only seen pictures of two others and I've only seen one, but it is like a dome. Made of palmetto fronds, like an Indian house, but it's not. It's round and about 6 feet high, completely propped up underneath with sticks, and it's all palmettos, and they're very intricately put in there. And then there's a round opening near the bottom, and then inside is, it's nothing. There's nothing in there but just like palm fronds and stuff. But it's not something that nature or the wind did. These things are built very well. And like I say, I've only seen one, and I've seen photographs of two others. One was in the Ocala National Forest, and then there's another area where there's a lot of sightings over near Cape Canaveral, and it's the I-4 corridor runs across over there to Cape Canaveral, and up there. And I saw photographs of another one, And it's just shocking when I see them because, I mean, I've lived in the Everglades all my life. I grew up with the Indians. They live in thatch huts. I get all of that. No, that ain't what this is. This is something that it's like, a bird builds such a beautiful nest, and they think, well, it's a bird. How did it do that? Build this beautiful nest. And this is along those lines, but this is much larger. And it's like I said, it's got a hole in it. It's like an igloo kind of a looking thing, and they're really hidden too. They're generally in areas where nobody goes, and they are constructed in such a way to where unless you trip over it, you won't even see it. But that's an interesting thing to me, and I'm always, if anybody's listening and has any photographs of anything like that down here in South Florida, I'd love to see it.
Hey,
Okay.
Wayne, can you ask him that maybe that those are birthing
I
huts?
get excited about it. I'm down here on a major treasure hunt. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be out with divers on the reef. I mean, we're on $1 billion right now. That's exciting. But I tell you what's just exciting to me is the skunk ape. I just love it. And I'm not involved in any of this. I'm not down here trying to get rich treasure hunting. No, this is about history. This is about bringing history to life. And the skunk ape to me is about real research. And so I'm just enjoying life there. I tell you, they don't call it fabulous Florida for nothing.
Yeah, Dave, bear with me just a second. Lisa's going to ask me a question for you.
I said, do you think those huts, those intricately woven huts, may be birthing huts? They're hidden, they're well protected. That would be
She's
a good
asking
birthing hut.
Dave, we see a lot of these, like, look like ground nests. She's calling them huts. And I don't know if you get those down there, but we get them up in this area. And she's just curious if those could be maybe considered birthing huts. Do you have an opinion on those, like ground nests?
The only opinion I have on them is that they're totally fascinating just to see that. And so, if that's what the Bigfoot community is finding and that's what they're seeing, I would love to see some pictures of that. Generally, I just see like trees bent and stuff like that when I go to the Bigfoot forums. But if people are finding these birthing areas and that's what they are, I would love to see some people put some photos up. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures, Dave. I mean, they're all over. I found a couple myself in my research, and they really are interesting. And I don't know if you've watched the television show Expedition Bigfoot or not, but they were in Kentucky a couple of seasons ago, and they actually got some eDNA from one of these huts that came back chimpanzee.
Came back a what?
Chimpanzee.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
That's crazy. I mean, how the hell do you explain chimpanzee in Kentucky?
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
interesting. The whole thing is crazy. I'm telling you. But I can tell you this, that it's real. That I'm here. I live in the Everglades. This is my home. This is where I grew up. This is what I eat. I live. My existence depends on the Everglades. My only friends down here are the Indians. Only Indians in this country that never signed a peace treaty. It was the longest, costliest Indian war in American history. And these people are survivors. I'm a survivor too. I can tell you what we got down here is real.
Yeah, got a question here from Kelly Shaw, and I want to remind everyone, ask them please to put the questions in caps because I almost missed this one.
Yeah, I did too.
But Kelly Shaw asks, "What do you think the population of these hominoids is?" I'm sure it's going to be speculation, but what would you say as far as a
Oh,
population?
that's fine. I have the largest track collection, the only track. No, I can't say that. There's a few other people that do. But I have over 200 castings that I've made in the last 40 years here in the swamps during the dry season. I just got two more about a month ago. I'm very proud of them. But based on the size of the track, the similarities of the tracks, the locations of the tracks, I'm looking between 7 and 9 separate animals that we have here in the Everglades area. That doesn't mean that there's not more throughout the state of Florida.
Okay, and I can't really speak for skunk apes, But I've heard, I believe it was Grover Krantz, the late Grover Krantz. Where he got this number, I don't know, but I've always remembered it. He seemed to think that for every 100 black bear, you had one Bigfoot. And if that's the case, you never see bear. I hardly ever see bears. So you imagine how elusive and how hard it would be to see a Bigfoot. Again, I don't know where he got those numbers, but if that's the case, that gives you an idea of how hard they are to see.
All right. Can you run those numbers by me one more time, please?
Yeah, Grover Krantz. I believe it was Grover Krantz. It was one of the better known researchers, older guys, said that for every 100 black bear, there was one Bigfoot.
Huh. Well, different areas handle different amounts of wildlife differently.
Yeah, very true.
To lay that right in the Everglades, that particular theory, I don't know if it'd be accurate. I'm not saying that it's not accurate. I'm just saying it might not be accurate here in South Florida. We've got probably 800 bears in the Big Cypress National Preserve. So we were using his formula. How many skunk apes will we have? 8?
8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then he's all right on the money.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty close.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might be 59 years old and damn near on my deathbed, but I'm not too old to learn something. That's for sure.
Hey now.
All right.
It never surprises me. I turn on the TV and here's this animal looking at me I've never seen before. And, so I'm always, just fascinated at new discoveries. And, I haven't even seen all the wildlife that's known yet.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Years old. It's hard to believe, as much television as I watch and books I've read, and I'm still surprised. I saw a purple squirrel the other day. I mean, who would have thought it was real?
Wow, I've never seen a purple squirrel.
It lives in Japan or something. It's a purple fox squirrel. Oh yeah. God, it's beautiful. I didn't even know they existed. So once I get to talking, once you get my motor going, I'm like Rod Stewart. Start me up, I never stop.
Yeah, Dave, talking to Lesa, I knew that you didn't have a whole lot of time to spend with us tonight, so we're right here at the end. Do you have anything that you want to plug, or any way that the audience can go and find you and see what you're up to, or where can they find you?
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook. I mean, if you really want to keep up with the day-to-day going, I'm on Facebook. And it's just my personal thing, Dave Shealy. You can hit me up there. You can also contact me through the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research website. I'm a member of their group. And I just hope that I answered everybody's questions correctly. I have been working tirelessly in the Everglades. The past 2 weeks, I have been in the swamps. And so now I'm down here in the Keys and I'm a little out of sorts. I'm needing to relax. So I hope the interview went well. And I hope that I was able to answer everyone's questions.
This interview was very, very informative, David. It was this. I can't remember an episode where we've had this many questions.
Oh, yeah.
So people were really, really interested and looking forward to hear you talk. And I would love to have you back, buddy.
Yeah, try to keep an ear open. If you hear anything about the swamp mysteries coming up on History Channel, at that time, get a hold of me because we'll talk about it. I tell you what, that it's going to be big. It's going to send a few shockwaves through the Bigfoot community because my research, I do it a little bit different than everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, definitely will. Dave, thank you so very much for taking the time to hang out. You be safe down there, okay?
God bless you. God bless everybody. Y'all have a good evening.
All right. Bye, buddy.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. I just saw the question, Hike with Mike. Let me pop it up here. Do you attend the Ocala Bigfoot Conference? I believe he said earlier that he wasn't invited to that. He didn't go. So I didn't really want to push a whole lot as to why, he's not getting invited to these things. But that seemed to be kind of a touchy subject for him. So
a little bit. But he sounds like he's got a lot going on. I'm really interested in the shipwreck stuff that he's doing as well.
Other than all the technical difficulties, this was a really fun episode. Good show.
Yeah.
It's what I'm learning, Lesa. is maybe Friday night is not the best night to do our lives because we've had more people watching tonight. We've had
Yeah,
a lot more questions. Maybe we move it to Sunday. I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. That's something we can pose to the audience. Like, what's a good night for everybody? I think the one night that we did, was it a Wednesday night or two? It was like in the middle of the week, wasn't it?
Thursday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, it was Wednesday or Thursday. And we had so many people that night. It was great.
Maybe Friday nights. That's date night for a lot of people.
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe we talk about moving it, and like you said, let the audience weigh in and see what they think. Guys, let us know what night works best for y'all, and hit us up on some emails.
Exactly.
All right, Lisa, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, I'm about to start a movie here next month, and I'm going to be bouncing. I'll probably be, headphones with a blanket over me on some of our shows starting in, the end of June, July. But I'm excited. I'm excited about some guests that we have possibly coming on that we can't really talk about yet, but I'm really excited about them. And yeah, it's about to be very busy around here.
Good deal. Yeah, we do have some cool people coming up if we can get them penciled in. They've already agreed. We just got to nail down a date.
Exactly.
All right, let's get out of here. I got a little lady in the next room yelling for me, so
I'm about to go sit on my deck and drink a glass of wine. So
yeah, I don't blame you, man. All right, let's get out of here. You guys, y'all be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. We'll see you next time.
have a good night.
Bye.